Three, two. Hey, everybody! Welcome to the Two Old Farts Making Noises show. Today, a special show.
Old farts. Two old farts. Steve and Dave. Sometimes you find a diamond in the rough. Not this time, though. This is just rough. Two old farts. There is no better waste of time.
And that's our special introduction.
Fabulous.
And there you go.
Wow,
And we
so
also,
creative.
and just so we know,
but lower.
that is from Mr. Earl Woods, better known as World Voice Guy, who's one of our regulars, who is a professional voiceover artist. He did many of these. So during the next couple of weeks and months, you will hear all of his intros on our show. Not just your show, but all our shows now are going to start with this type of thing. So it's going to be very exciting. So let me just get this out of the way. New York, thank you very much. And if you haven't eaten a dim sum, darling, in New York City, losers. Anyway, now that we've got that out of the way, when I said, we're going to talk today. Miss Wilde has brought a guest on who's going to talk to us today about NFT, crypto, the art world, crypto mining, and blockchain. And so this should be an interesting show. And so, Miss Wilde, what do you want to say before we bring in your guest, Mr. Jon?
I'm bringing on Jonathan Garza today to talk about his experience in the crypto world. Honestly, I think I got my introduction into crypto through him, and we had some mining endeavors, and we had, Now,
when you say mining, for the people that don't know, you don't mean like, where we're going to do above ground or in ground mining. You're talking about mining of Bitcoin.
When I had my miners at my house, I actually would say that, and then people would be like, "How long are they staying? Are they staying with you, like for a few weeks, or like like that was." Pretty common actually. So no, those are actually just computers, but I'll let Jonathan tell you about that. So he's also, he's an incredibly successful real estate photographer, among other types of photography, but his company is called Awesome Real Estate Photography. He's been in business for over 10 years, and has been.
She's verklempt. She's so verklempt.
I know. I just got so excited I couldn't even speak.
Hey, now you know why? That's because you're Cockney. So.
Right, that must be it.
That's an inside joke, kids. I'm sorry, you have to be the pre-show before you know that joke. But let me explain what that means.
It's probably a good idea that they won't at the pre-show anyway. But anyway, so interesting today then, crypto, all things crypto, good, the bad, and the extremely ugly. And let's be interested to know what's happening. At the moment, I'm just looking at a blank wall. There you go. Oh,
there he is.
Look, he just walked through a wall. That is amazing. That is our first magic trick on the show.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, this crypto stuff is magic.
It's
but that was a pretty good one to start with.
That's cool. We like that's a nice effect. I'm going to try that one day.
Just you walking through the wall.
There you go. So I'm sure it will be. So I'm going to let you guys kind of take the direction of where you want to go. And as we talked before the show,
tell us about yourself and what you have done in that. Just in general, just give us a little rundown. Who are you?
Yeah, I'm Jonathan. I'm from Austin, Texas. I studied finance and economics in school, and then kind of graduated and worked a little bit in finance, and then left finance and started a photography business, but always kind of was a hobbyist, like armchair economist, as I say. And, I always kind of was interested in currencies. And then, Bitcoin came out in, I guess, early, more than 10 years ago or about 10 years ago. And then I got involved through a couple different friends were just kind of had some of it, kind of dabbled in it, almost used we call it, some people used it for the Silk Road, all sorts of different things. And then I ended up, Wait,
John, if I may interrupt, for the people that don't know, Silk Road was a black site, so to speak, where you could purchase illicit things, drugs, guns, people, or have people killed. And then the FBI, if I'm not mistaken, came in and closed Silk Road down because they were like, that's a no-no. You can't purchase drugs. Everything else is okay. So then they did that, and then that was it. So just for the people that may not know, remember Silk Road, I figured I would just give them the tutorial.
Well, there wasn't any taxes that anybody was paying, no VAT and stuff like that. That's what pissed people off, I think, Stephen. They didn't mind too much about the times.
They ended up getting all the taxes from the poor guy that got caught with the Silk Road, but
very true.
Yeah, they ended up getting all of his money, not just the taxes. But yeah, and then one time I threw a party with my friend that was kind of the main Bitcoin guy back then for me, and we got in. The party went so well, they ended up trying to kind of ask for a bunch of money from us for having such a big party at this house, and instead of getting paid back, and then my partner, instead of getting paid back in cash, he was like, "Do you want Bitcoins?" And I got my first 3 Bitcoins for throwing this party and kind of going a little too large with it. And
nice.
that was kind of how I started into it. And then the same kid ended up having some trouble and was had a Bitcoin miner pre-order, or it was a Litecoin miner. And then I ended up buying it at a discount from him as a what would you call it? As a distressed asset. It was my first.
Okay. Sure. If you want to call it an asset, let's go with that. A distressed asset.
Yeah, I got my first Bitcoin miner that way, and then kind of been Bitcoin mining since probably 2014. Went to the first Bitcoin conference in Texas. I bought 2 Bitcoin miners from Bitmain that day. I don't know if it was a good idea or not, but I ran those until they kind of broke even. Sold those. It was the first Bitcoin miner, or the first Litecoin miners I had. The power supplies would burn off and almost like hit them on fire. I had to have my one friend that makes lasers for a living. I had to have him come solder like a power supply back onto these miners. They ended up going to Chicago and being ran in some kid's dorm room for a little while. Anyway, the whole transferring of Bitcoin miners and collecting of them has been kind of a little hobby. One of my friends ended up getting about 100 Bitcoin miners when they were a little more valuable, a couple, maybe 5 or 8 years ago in the first boom. And then there was the big bust, and they ended up having better things to do. And so I bought their whole farm for kind of pennies on the dollar. And then then this year I started selling when there was a big price increase. And then I really should have sold all my miners because they were mostly Doge miners. And when Doge hit about $1, the miners were worth more than they were originally worth being sold from Bitmain 8 years ago. And so it's been quite a wild ride. Hindsight's always 20/20. I think in Texas, the Bitcoin mining is real interesting due to we have a lot of power. We've had some power problems. We have a lot of natural gas. But then natural gas prices have been so extremely volatile. I think the economics of natural gas is just changing every day. That affects Bitcoin mining. I just think it's a real interesting market. Kind of love it from an economic standpoint, as well as kind of the future of currency. CBDCs are now kind of really a real thing. I think it'll be really interesting to see how crypto kind of, what do they call it, securitization and all of those kind of play together.
Yeah, but when you look at something like a stable coin that wasn't stable, or the stable dollar and all this. So the issue I have, we call them crypto algorithms because they're not coins or nothing. They're useless. I mean, they are and they aren't. There's this, Tim Barnum and Bailey said it best, right? There's a sucker born every minute. So if you started the Bitcoin or you started Dodgy or whatever, then you're the smartest guy in the world because everyone's buying from you. So, at some point it plateaus out. So if the globe isn't going to accept it as a currency, like China's not going to do it, India is not doing it, there's a whole bunch of things. I think you have to look at it what it's good for. And I think that ties into like the NFT market when people were paying, for Bored Apes, $1 million for basically a digital picture, but not getting a real piece of art. So I could see if you want to pay $1 million for a piece of art and it comes with an NFT. So if when the Bitcoin or NFT market dies, you have a tangible asset. But I don't know if I'm into I'm going to spend $1 million on a digital picture.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people started doing that more and more as the NFT market kind of took off. People are trying to differentiate themselves, and So I remember last year at Basel, Jonathan and I went together, and we went to some conferences where they were talking about doing that and making sure that people felt the value, and also just being kind of, it was almost like like a point of honor, or they just wanted to include that as part of the sale because artists like really value the tangible asset too.
Well, I know UBS
Can
when
I
they
just
run
backtrack a bit? Can I just
Yeah.
backtrack a bit? Because one of the things that was just sort of came in the conversation John was saying was, oh, in Texas we have a lot of power.
They have a lot of gas because of the Mexican food. You go to the restaurant and then your good natural gas here is abundant.
So, yes.
Yeah, because obviously energy is certainly in Europe a big issue at the moment. Right. So what did you actually mean by that? The Texas you had a lot of power. Surely every state in America has a lot of power. Could you just elaborate on that, John, a little bit?
Texas is really rich in like oil and natural gas. We're very fortunate in that aspect. And
does that mean that the gas and gasoline prices and the gas prices are fixed by each individual state differently?
I think there's something to do with the refineries, and the distribution affects the cost as well as the taxes. I think it's like California has $8 gas versus we have like $3 gas. I'm not sure how they make such a big. We're pretty close to California. I don't know how they make it so much more expensive. But.
California taxes everything. Like, there's a tax for this, a tax for that. Save the bird, save the condor, save this, save. In Texas, you guys are like, save our guns. What's the tax on that? A nickel. Cool, we're done. There's a supermarket yesterday. A 3-year-old kid has a gun. So, that's a little different here. But Texas is a little liberal.
With the oil.
Yeah, so I'm sorry sort of taking the wind out of the whole NFT thing going forward. I want to come back to the NFTs, but it just seemed to be fascinating that you just said, because power, we had a lot of power, right. And people have been mining it here in Europe, but they've been ripping it off from land, hot wiring, street lights and everything else to get it as much stuff as they can for free. And of course they have to, in Holland, their biggest competitor are all the cannabis farms. So it's power is always an issue. So that was just interested in that. Anyway, back to the NFTs.
Well, there's two other things that are really interesting with the power, I think. With the natural gas. So natural gas, there's different like, I guess, supplies / like I guess little holes coming out of the ground with natural gas coming out. And certain people, they've already drilled the well or they've done some exploration and they know there's natural gas, but due to the price and the infrastructure, there's no way to take it to market. And so for a little while, or for right now, there's actually quite a bit of people, or there had been maybe a year ago, of people trying to match Bitcoin mining assets and natural gas generators to natural gas wells that were not kind of economically viable due to infrastructure. Because with natural gas, you gotta either capture it and then take it to market, or have a pipeline coming directly to the natural gas. But I think as the prices on natural gas are changing so much, I think infrastructure is being more developed different gas that was stranded is now valuable enough to be taken to market. So I think.
So are you saying that people just have a pipe in their backyard and then just start tapping this stuff privately?
Yeah, I mean, lots of people have lots of land, and if you have more than an acre in a lot of places, or if you have even an acre, you can, and you have your mineral rights, you can put a
drill away. Yeah. Texas is a funny state, David. It's not like a real state. It's kind of they think they're their own country.
Yeah.
But here's what's interesting.
It's fascinating because I'm looking at it from the other side of the pond, and it's fascinating because even if we do have a lot of natural gas here as well, which has caused big problems, certainly in the north of Holland, with subsidence. But just to go and drill a hole in my back garden, they'd be all over me like a cheap suit,
Yeah.
Just saying, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Not in Texas.
So anyway, that's an interesting little snippet about.
Didn't you ever see the Beverly Hillbillies, Dave? That's what Texas is known for, like discovering things in your backyard and becoming rich.
They used to live next door to me when I moved. So
there you go.
Well,
but Steve, the other thing is, I have
go to someone else's backyard and take it.
There you go. I had a friend when Bitcoin mining was big. He actually built a farm in a cave in Mongolia. They used to be, the Chinese government used it for when World War II and the Korean War as a depot. So all the electric was hooked up, everything was hooked up. So it did two things. One, the power there, like he says, like a penny per whatever, was ridiculous. So he said what would cost them like $1 million in the state cost them like $5,000 a month there. And number two, it kept the machines cool. And so they were trying to raise money. I don't think they ever did. but they were going to build mega farms throughout these mining systems real mines and real caves in Mongolia and other places in Asia and in Eurasia and all that because of everything that was going on. And then a lot of the countries a few years ago just said, no, you can't do this anymore. It's a drain on our power supply. So mining is an interesting concept. Pollutes a lot, is a lot of heat, but and that's just one aspect of it. So it really is, I think now it's like, so what's going to happen next? The exchanges are dropping, like everyone's going bankrupt. All the Bitcoin millionaires can't get their money now, which is funny to begin with because the MTG guy from Asia did the same thing to them, died, and no one got their money. So it's history repeating itself. So my thing with this crypto algorithm is, and I know you guys like it because you don't want central banks to know your money. They know your money even if you have a crypto whatever. But so what's the purpose of it? At the end of the day, what are everyone's trying to do? You have a decentralized monetary system? That's nice, but it's not really going to work because what backs it? Some guy sitting in his dorm room with, porn on his computer.
I think
that's the thing.
No, what backs it is the miners, well, Jonathan,
that's not back.
The way that you explained it to me, Jonathan, was that what backs it is that the miners do these encryptions, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the value is the encryption. I think that's real.
Yeah.
But if I'm the U.S. government who's working with their crypto, and I'm working with the Chinese government who's working on their own crypto or whatever, and so the difference between me getting U.S. dollars in crypto, which I don't know why, I have a bank account, I can just transfer money back and forth. I don't care that the government knows that I have money. I'm okay with that. So other than the government not knowing why I have money, why am I getting crypto? That would be my question. And that's always the question I've asked.
It's that you don't trust the government. It's a peer-to-peer system, as well as it's the no double spend, a public ledger, right. And the fact that it's that there's no government. I think because a lot of people like gold, all fiat eventually goes to zero. So if you're trying to hold money, gold, art, guns, different things that are businesses that produce value, like miners of gold, different things like that. I think, I think traditionally have held value versus all paper money eventually goes to zero. And so I think the technology, I guess, is what the technology and then the network of the technology, I think is what people consider.
Right. But if I'm a government and I can see you can have crypto, my problem is you get someone who's rich, let's say really rich, and they're 80 years old or they're 30 years old. Why do I want to have this all on my phone? Like I can get an encrypted phone. I can use my bank. So it's really the same thing. It's just that people just don't want them to know. So playing on that, if I had $1 billion with FTX right now, I have nothing with FTX. Can't get it out. Everything's gone down. So what happens then?
Not your keys, not your money, I think is what a lot of people would say to that. I think exchanges are kind of always open to issues.
Right. Well, the New York Stock Exchange, if there's an issue, I know who to go. I can call Goldman Sachs, and they have a ledger as well, right? So
the government. The government colludes with the banks, and they could go ahead and reset your ledger if they want to. If there was a bad day of trading, they can go back and reverse all trades. Versus if a trade happens on the and there's the plunge protection team. I mean, I wish sometimes there was a plunge protection team for Bitcoin. I wish as well as there was a single market that the government could manipulate. Having NYSE, ARCA, and NASDAQ, is like only two main operating stock exchanges is kind of nice versus having FTX, Coinbase, all these different market makers. Sometimes I think it would be nice if there was some solidity or, singleness, single focal point. But I think it's also
at some point there may be, but if everyone keeps saying I don't trust the government, there won't be. I'm old school. I trust the government. I know they're going to screw me. I already know that. They won't screw me as bad as FTX probably screwed a whole bunch of people. The example is in Miami, all the crypto parties were in Los Angeles, and then FTX was in the Bahamas, and they said, no, we want to have all the parties in Miami. So nightclubs appeared, businesses appeared, and for the last 18 months, it's been going crazy, and people would be sitting there showing their phone and how much money they have and all this other crap. Now FTX is done, and all these nightclubs in Miami are closed. Now people are unemployed. So I'm not against it if you can find it what to be used for. It's the same with an NFT. If somebody wants to buy an NFT, they have to use crypto. I don't want to use crypto. I want to buy.
It's not the elephant in the room here. That
there's an elephant. I love elephants.
The elephant in the room is that this crypto money is all used to wash, criminal money, all funny money.
That's what dollars been used for forever. I mean, the dollar.
All money's used for that, David. That's to me, that's a silly argument because I can use dollars to wash dirty money.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people, certainly in Europe, who went straight into everything, got pushed into crypto because they could wash their money through by doing that, and again pulling it out exchanges the other end. And
not if you're with FTX, you can.
I think that's where, like, with small countries and with what you're saying, what you're seeing with the kind of the Russia-America boycotts, or not boycotts, what do they call it? Sorry, I'm going embargo.
Sanctions, yeah.
Yeah, sanctions. Basically, I think that shows the need for a for a non-governmental system. I think all of those nations are moving to gold. I think there is going to be a CBDC based on a gold spot, like a gram per gold spot soon between China and Russia. And so I think that's where, if you're a real small country, to do trade between you and another real small country, you got to go get a bunch of dollars and then agree that you're going to trade this much of oil or whatever for this much dollars, and then meet and have some neutral country, or because you can't use the Bank of International Settlement and then just like trade a boatload of dollars with a boatload of oil and hope y'all don't shoot each other in the back. I think I think that's where Bitcoin and stuff like that could be.
You also realize that the government does track crypto algorithms, right? Because when these people stole $3 billion, so where you go, we don't trust the government. They still know that you have it. What they choose to do with that knowledge is their own thing. Nothing's that encrypted. Two reasons. One, they have real quantum computing, and they also have supercomputers, which none of these have, as much as they think they do. So that's part of the other issue. To me, what came out of all of this, and I'm talking back when it started a million years ago, is the blockchain, because for blockchain, and now we'll go into art, I like it for the provenance. To me, that's where I see the blockchain becomes valuable, even whether you buy an NFT or not, right? But we were at a company that wanted to basically blockchain all the art, and I was like, "That's great, but what am I going to do with Michelangelo? Like, where am I going to stick the little UPC code that says we did this, right? Because you're not going to, or are you going to go and put a painting?" So I think for some uses of it, I think we're there. I know they've done oil transactions with it. They've done people have bought and sold homes with it. That's fine. But I think as it develops, it'll become something. For the crypto algorithms, I think once they figure out how to back it, and it's not, and I mean this in the nicest way, not a scam, because the problem is there's so many scam algorithms out there, or currencies, if you will. There's a lot of it that's a scam. Right. So in Bitcoin, not saying it is or it isn't, but whatever. Then, some guy that owns a car company tweets about a coin with a dog on it and it goes up. That's manipulation. I have problems with all that. I wonder if you're going to have this type of currency, for lack of a better word, I want it to be a fair market. I don't want it to be like FDR's days. What's gold going to be when we flip a coin to determine the gold price? Yeah. So, and I think that's where it has to. I think right now we're still at this development stage, and maybe in 5 or 10 years it'll be like, okay. But I think it's going to look a lot different than it looks today. Because I don't think it's the way it is today.
The lines are blurred, though, Stephen. The lines are blurred because everybody, as soon as you talk about blockchain, people immediately think about crypto.
Think crypto? Yeah. Well, people that don't know do. In my world, we understand that you use blockchain for contracts. You can do a deal on it. If you actually read a paper, you'll see that they're doing real estate on it. Logistics. They're doing oil deals on it. They're just everything. It's awesome. If you're the average citizen that doesn't read, you hear blockchain and you're like, that's crypto crap. To an extent, yes, but to another extent, businesses have been using it for like 12, 13 years and it works. But that's what I'm saying. I think it has to develop more. And if you're going to do crypto algorithms, you have to make it easier. Like if I have $1 million and I want to transfer it in my bank or do whatever, I get online and I'm done. I transferred it, I moved it, it's done. And crypto has to be less, you need a key and I have to have 47 different words. Enough's enough. Like, you know what I mean? And I think they need to make it more mainstream and that's it.
FTX and that's Coinbase, and then you have somebody else having your keys. So I think that's the point. Is it's kind of like if you wanted to be traditionally, like if you wanted to keep your own gold, you'd have to build your own vault and get some guards or hide it really well. with this, if you want to have your own vault, you just have to remember your keys. I think so. I mean, I think that's kind of basically it's like simplified guarding $1 million in gold.
Yeah, but back in the day, I could still buy gold. Like when E.F. Hutton was around,
but guarding it, you could buy gold. Like but
I don't need my gold. I just need I just need to buy it and have someone I trust watch it. And that's I think
every time you've given anybody gold, what do they do with it? They always lend more of it than they have. That's always.
But I don't care. I make money. It's old school.
Here, when everybody draws their gold at the same time and the guy doesn't have your gold, it's a traditional banking problem. What happened?
Well,
SBF is a traditional banking problem.
Well, you won't remember. There's a company called CBIC back in the 80s in Fort Lauderdale, and they basically said they had billions of dollars of gold. And did, to your point, oh, look, you can go buy gold. It's right there in our vault. You can see it and touch it. And basically, they just sprayed bricks with gold. So no, but if you're using like a Goldman Sachs, let's say, or a UBS or whatever, they have real gold. They can't hypothecate the gold. There's certain rules and standards.
It's contractual gold. Goldman Sachs owns all the gold depots as well, so they get to move the gold around in their own gold depots. They don't own near as much gold as they write contracts for. They can write as many futures contracts as they want because they have as much credit as they want.
Well, that's every government as well, and apparently that's what happened with crypto, because the crypto, according to FTX, was just loaning themselves $6-7 billion at a clip. So they're doing the same things that you're trying to get away from. So realistically, money, if you will, corrupts everybody. Because this kid was supposed to be, look, we're going to be, no, you're not. You bought a $40 million condo in the Bahamas. You bought a $15 million condo for your parents below. Your girlfriend worked at another exchange. I mean, like, that was the most incestuous relationship in the crypto of everything. And the other problem, but here's the best part. And this is what blows my mind being an old school, investment banker. When you do or buy something, you do due diligence. Nobody from the Singaporean government to all these big firms did due diligence on FTX. They just blindly went in there like idiots and went, yeah.
That guy.
So that's the dumbest thing in the world. I've never seen that. And it happened with Z-Best in the 80s, Enron in the 90s, and then the 50 other examples. So that's the problem.
Mark to market is always hard. He was using his own tokens as a security. That's what all equity companies, all banks, they write, all bank stocks are just like FTX tokens. Bank of America, they just equity through their stocks. It's just a really nice orderly market. The listings are orderly in whatever country they're on. And, that's the equity that they use to lend to borrow money from other banks. And so every bank is basically the same as FTX. It's just a really orderly market. I mean,
but they're also been doing it a little while, and they have more A through Z control, where FTX is basically the wild west. And I think if I start an exchange and call it the Steve Exchange, if I put all the controls in it, like a Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, not UBS or Credit Suisse, they have no controls. That's why they're having problems. But if I do it like a real bank or a real exchange, and I put all the proper controls in and not go off on a tangent to go buy $40 million condominiums, my exchange would be running perfectly like the New York Stock Exchange. But nobody that doesn't trust the government would want to be part of it, because it wouldn't be enough Wild West for them. And I think that's the issue.
There's still fat finger trades on Goldman Sachs and stuff like that.
But Goldman isn't going out of business anytime soon.
Yeah.
And if you really want to get down to it, the government won't let it, because in 2008, if you remember, the big bailout, everybody needed a bailout, from Goldman to Chase to this. I think one of the only banks that didn't need a bailout was Northern Trust, because they don't do everything. Like here's what we do, here's how we do it, that's all we do, we're happy. Everybody needed a bailout globally. So when you look at it, the only difference is, the reason I'd rather keep my money with, Goldman Sachs, if you will, or Northern Trust, is because if there's a problem, every other rich person in America has their money there. And the government's not going to let them go out of business and bankrupt, because then you have anarchy. However, if FTX goes out of business, me as a government, I don't give a fuck, because I don't care about you losers. And that's how they look at it.
Maybe it's
let me interject here and give a big bailout to all our listeners and people who are watching the show. And it was my fault. I sort of hijacked the NFT conversation we moved into. So let's move into the NFTs. Let's get away from the
I like that. Okay.
And and let's talk a little bit about how people view. I mean, I know Stephen has an opinion on it, as do I. We share that opinion, right. Because that's the reason why we were connected in the first place. But I'd be interested to know is to both to John and to Miss Wilde, NFTs, are they of any value just on their own, or are they of even more value if they're linked to, let's say, an original piece of art? So
or
I always
is anybody going to buy NFTs anymore?
I would say the same thing about the NFTs linked to the art. It's a bit like you buy the hat. It's a bit like you buy the Big Mac, and you get the Happy Meal to go with it. And the Happy Meal is the NFT.
I think the provenance thing, like Stephen was talking about, is really interesting or important. I think making the art market more liquid is a big goal. I think the liquidity that combines the liquidity that happens from not having physical art is nice.
Not having to store it, right?
Well, basically, also, like, if you're in New York or in Shanghai, me and you can make an art deal over the internet instantly, and without kind of any friction. Versus if I want to sell you a $10,000 or $1 million painting, and you live in Shanghai, that's a real pain in the ass. Like, we got to get a big box, we got to get it insured, we got to find somebody to like do the money hold for us while the thing's in transit. Versus,
that's what lawyers and escrow accounts are for. We do this all the time. We buy and sell art all the time, but it's not that hard.
So what do I get then? What do I get? You're going to sell me something in Holland as an NFT. What do I get? Because that's what people are saying.
I think you get the art. I think people are moving everything.
Yeah, but I don't own the art. I just have an address.
You can put it on your big screen TV and look at it all day.
Yeah, and I've got a question.
I don't own the art. I just have an address on a ledger, which I have access to.
You own that particular version of the art, specifically.
But I don't own the copyrights unless you give me the copyrights. So do I own the copyrights as well, or no? No. Are you giving me the copyrights on your art?
Only if that's in the smart contract, Stephen. And most of the time,
right? Well, you have to ask, right? So if I'm buying an NFT, I've got to ask if I own the copyrights. If I own a Picasso and it's mine,
not only
technically I own it.
Not only the copyrights, but which copyright do you own?
Right.
Do you own the copyright of the image? Do you own the copyright for the merchandising?
For the print,
for everything. So and that again, you're talking about issues with crypto being very vague. The NFT market is also, I shan't mention the name of one of the largest NFT marketplaces, but when you look at their T's and C's, you think, nothing. I've got nothing. I bought an image, and that's it. And I can't do anything with it. I just own an image, and okay, it's great if it costs me a couple of bucks, and I got it on my phone, and I can show everybody. But when I'm paying $500,000, $2 million, or another silly amount of money for it, because I technically own it, you don't. People bought the Bored Apes. Don't own it. Don't own the rights to it. Can't do anything with it because it's not even in their smart contract. So where does that leave us? So on the one side, I see the value in that because it's something which I can share. It's social equity, which is interesting. I've got this. I've got this on my phone. This is what I own, etc., etc. But it doesn't give me. It doesn't sort of. The circle is not completely round as regards the NFT. What I would like to see is that. Is to have that proof of ownership, and that proof of ownership is a physical object. Yeah. But your argument, John, is I've got to create it up. You've got to send it to me. Blah 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 blah. But hey, if I was buying a normal piece of art from you'd have to do that anyway. Now I get both.
Yeah, and I think a lot of artists are doing that. A lot of that people are doing that, like either or. I think it was. One of the famous artists had a $2,000 piece where you could either get the print or you could get the ETH, and it burned one or the other. It was like an interesting one. I forgot who it was that did it, but I think there's a lot of options. A lot of people are doing physical and the digital at the same time. I have a print shop, and I print for a couple people that are delivering physical and delivering a physical version with their NFT.
Well, I know Corvette tried to do an NFT of a Corvette, so you get a drawing, and they sold none. And the Lamborghini did the 10 keys for Lamborghinis. I think they sold 4. So I think that once again, if you don't make it easy with the crypto, nobody wants to do it. Like you call, like I talked to somebody, he says, I want to buy that. He said, oh, I take crypto. I go, take credit cards? No, just crypto. Like, good luck with that. Like, I'll use my credit card. Like, I get something for that, points, whatever it might be. So like I said, I think crypto, there's a place. I think it's just going to have to be a matter of how you make it easy for the average person that doesn't have to go through 75 steps to get a wallet. And I think that's the problem.
I was thinking about your Miami comment. I think that the real thing that's driven the Miami issue is the tightening, because there was only a couple trillion, like less than 2 trillion in Bitcoin, versus the entire market is tightened, and I think that's really what's driving the Miami decrease in spending. But I think
I think the FTX crash helped it, because now everybody can't get their money out. So, and there's no insurance company to back it. There's a lot to do with it. Yesterday I was worth $1 billion in Bitcoin, and today I can't get my money from a bankrupt exchange because it's disappeared. So
everybody in real estate though thought that they were going to be worth 30% more every year forever though. So I think there's a lot of people in real estate that thought
rude awakening. Kind of like Texas. You guys keep thinking the real estate's going to go up, and now it's coming down. There's a little thing called interest rates. People are like, wait a minute, I can't afford this. So, like, no kidding.
I mean, Austin's been going up like 30 to 50% a year. That's been crazy.
Yeah, now it's coming down to a realistic market. You're not the Bay, unfortunately. But anyway, you'll never be the Bay. Anyway, I like the fact that if you take away the crypto, NFTs are fine, but if you use blockchain for the provenance of art, and if you can go back far enough where you can really do it, that to me, there's a value now. And at some point, if you can tie crypto to it properly and have it on a proper exchange or proper governance, I know UK has the FCA, they're trying to do that now, then I think, yes, you can use it to do whatever. An NFT without a physical asset, I think it's a waste. Like when people were buying Bored Ape, I was laughing, especially when I think Madonna or Justin Bieber paid $1 million. I'm like, wow, more money than brains. So that makes no sense to me because there's no value.
The people are spending that sort of money as coffee money anyway, Stephen.
It still doesn't matter. $1 million is $1 million, whether you have 1 million or $1 billion.
Yeah, I think that comes down to flexing. I think it's like the difference between the Timex and a Patek Philippe or a Patek or whatever.
Right.
It's $1 million. You can still sell the time. Some people really give a shit. Some people don't.
Well, and the difference is the guts, though. It's the same difference if you drive, I don't know, a Ford, a BMW, or a Bugatti, right? It's the engineering. So the watch thing, Timex is made one way, and the Patek Philippe is made another way, all by hand, with a guy who's been doing it probably since, the Revolutionary War and can barely see without these big glasses, right? So there's a difference in that. So that I understand because that's a little different. It's like a car. The cars get you from A to Z. Some people want a BMW, some people want a Ford, some people want this. But then you get the guy that'll spend $3 million on a Bugatti, or they'll spend it on a Koenigsegg because it's the engineering. It's this. They're like that. They're a gearhead. So I get that
difference in the kind of quality aspect of different art.
I buy art. I mean, David knows this. I buy artifacts as well. I want a physical piece. If I'm spending $1 million, I'm not flexing Jack Mother. You know what? I'm paying $1 million. It's going on my wall or it's going into a vault, and nobody needs to know that I spent $1 million. Whether it's an artifact or a piece of art, that's me. And if he comes to the house, you can see my art. That's awesome. If I want to sell it, same company that sold it to me or same company that I went to can go ahead and help me sell it again. So for the general public, yes, NFTs are probably great. Crypto is great because they're clueless. For another part of the public that has a clue, that knows where to go and make phone calls and know who to talk to, I can buy and sell art just as easy as I can buy and sell an NFT. I don't have to worry about creating it. There's people that come and create it. There's people that will come and ship it. There's people that'll insure it. I don't have to do anything. That they just have to sell it.
Those are a lot of costs, though.
You know what? I know at the end of the day, A, I'm going to get my money. It's not going to go up or down. It's money. It's not a crypto algorithm. B, on the other side, I know I bought a piece of art. The art is either going to stay, it's going to appreciate or it's not. But I actually have it on my wall. So I'm okay with those 15 or 20% costs because I sleep at night. In crypto algorithm land, I don't.
You, Stephen, Would you appreciate having both the physical piece of art and maybe a digital piece version of that art that also was maybe slightly differentiated from the piece? You know, like would you pay more for that? Like, would you be like, okay, yeah, all right, $10,000 for this piece, but I'll throw in the NFT if you do it for 13?
So it's interesting. If someone said that to me, I'd be like, you know, those cool digital frames that are like $2,000 that so throwing that with it. Sure. Now there's a value, right? Because really getting a piece of digital, I'm not Bill Gates. I'm not buying out the Louvre so you can come to my house in Washington State and look at all the art when you walk room to room with my little watch that you wear. So to me, it's like if I have the real art, the digital does me really no good. I do have a friend in New York who, when they do something like that, he gets the original, but he's got now some frame he bought for $2 or $3,000. And what that frame does is that frame shows all his digital art. Like it's up there for 2 minutes, it goes to the next, goes to the next. But I can go into the next room and see all the art. So I don't know if that, to me, there's a value. I think if I'm selling you a piece for $10,000, I give you the NFT for it. Or if you buy the NFT, I just give you the art for it. I don't know if that there's an extra value to get, for me, the NFT side of it, because I more want the physical. It's just the old school mentality.
How many hours a day do y'all play video games or use the
Facebook? None. I'm an adult. I don't have time for video games, and I don't have time for Facebook.
I think y'all are in a different time period marketplace. You know.
Yeah, exactly. You have a different mentality around it because you don't exist in the digital world.
Generation.
Because we what now?
Oh, sorry.
No.
I think we're both saying the same thing, but yeah, like you're a different generation, so you have different values. And there's a lot of people who actually have been like, when I was a kid, when I was like a teenager, I remember my boyfriend.
Wait, you were a teenager? Wait, I gotta get back to this.
Yeah, it happened at one point. Yeah, I know. My boyfriend at the time, he like tripped me out because he was playing video games and he was building these characters. And then he sold these characters for like with all of their accoutrement, their like freaking weapons and whatever experience points. He sold them to like older people for thousands of dollars. Okay. And so like I feel like that was like an early version of kind of what we're talking about now. It's like a digital asset being sold. So there are people who value this, and it might not be you, but it is valued by others.
I totally understand that. I know there's a value, but I think that there's a value, and it gets past a certain, like there's certain prices of art I won't pay. I don't see the value. And it could be like, you know, somebody go, look, this is a Da Vinci. I don't care. It's not worth $400 million to me. It's like, I don't understand that. It doesn't make sense. Everything has a value to a point, even a car. Like, you know, you look at a BMW, it's somewhere between 40 and 200,000. Then all of a sudden you go to a Ferrari and it's 200,000 to $1 million. Okay. Some people, that's a value. So everything has a value and different. And I don't think it has to do anything with my age, because we know technology. We use it every day. We probably know more about technology than people that are 20, because this is what we do for a living. Don't even laugh. But the thing is that there has to be a value. If there is no value, then it's not worth it. So it's not because I'm older or I come from a different generation. I don't see the value in NFT. I want the physical asset. I have friends my age that like the NFT, but they also want the physical. And I have other people my age that just want the NFT because they think it's really cool, but they have more money than brains. So that's okay. And I think down the road, it'll all merge together. And I think then it'll be like, it'll make more sense the way it does. I think right now, because it's at an infancy and it's an unsecured infancy, it's kind of like you have to wait and see. And being the first sometimes isn't the best.
I think the merging thing, I think it's kind of more like I think as we merge with machines, you know, then the physical and the digital will all be one. And so, that's when I think the ultimate thing is the merging of man and machine. And then
they were talking a lot about like I think like, you know, like last year this time, I mean, we were looking at a totally different landscape, and part of what people were talking about was, you know, NFTs being like avatars, and like you could buy like a celebrity avatar and like be that celebrity in the metaverse, right? And so like that was of value to people, and they would buy that. Like projecting into the future, thinking like that would be like something cool to have. And then like I kind of saw it as like this very interesting world within world, you know, simulation, double, triple, quadruple simulation, whatever you want to look at it. and by people buying real estate and like all kinds of things. Like, you know, we're recreating the market.
But there was a company doing that.
Forever.
There was a company doing that. I guess they're still around. That was basically selling real estate in the metaverse.
Yeah.
Noisy Panda, how this show started, we were doing the different universes and whatever, and we saw what was going on. We were going to pull back, so we did. But so people were buying, like, you know, Park Avenue apartments for what they would really cost to buy, and I'm like, dude, just because your money's make believe with crypto, because you didn't really earn it, you mined it, big deal. That's not earning it. You didn't work for it. You're Lucky Sperm Club almost. So they pissed away. Guy bought $1 million and have a yacht in the metaverse. And I'm like, seriously? Not a real yacht, a make believe yacht. So there's no value. And maybe it is because I was raised that you have to have a value for something. I think at a certain age, and we call them the 14-year-olds. The 14-year-olds could be 14 to 140, so no one get offended. But a lot of 14-year-olds don't understand the value of money. They just think like, oh, look, they don't want to work.
The value of money is going up and down like crazy. The value of money has no solid so why are we going to value that?
With the value of money, my question is
right.
Do you think that Mark Zuckerberg didn't understand the value of money when he spent more money than they spent getting to the moon for the first time on the metaverse?
Yes. I don't think he understands the value of money. I think it's his moonshot, if you will. His investors right now, his shareholders and his stakeholders are telling him enough's enough. This is bull.
Didn't they remove him or something?
They're trying, but he can't because his stock is like 71 to vote. But his shareholders and his stakeholders are like, dude, enough. Like, we're losing money now because you're on a pipe dream.
Do you think that he sees something that we don't? Does he know something that we don't?
Well, no, that's the whole debate, isn't it? It's a pipe dream for Stephen, but it's
I don't think it's no. I don't think it's a pipe dream. I just don't think the technology today, when the AR and VR headsets that are today, that the public sees, not what we see on other things. Wait. I don't think there's a value.
He's putting his stall out. It's like knowing, oh, there's going to be a market coming here, and but it's not until next week. But I'm going to be the first guy to put the market stall out, and when the market comes around me, I'm already there. On the first one people are going to come to.
I think the problem with where Zuckerberg is today with Meta is I think that they're probably, I want to say conservatively, 5 to 10 years too early. So he could have actually kept this as a, if you will, private, so to speak, and built it and then went ta-da. And then I think the technology, the headsets on AR and VR and everything would be where the public would be like, oh my God. The problem is now people look at it, it's too jiggy, it's too this, it's too that. You know, you wear the sets, you see the split screen, you see, it's not quite there. It's cute for gaming. It's cool. Like my son has it. So
I think a lot of these ideas came about during the pandemic when everybody was in quarantine. So we had to exist in a digital world because we were not allowed to exist in a physical world. So when that happened, it created all these new markets.
Right.
Which actually made me think about what you guys were talking. Jonathan, do you remember that guy that came to us and he was like, this is when Jonathan and I were running this art gallery together, PSA gallery, is that his gallery. And this guy came to us, you know, we had a lot of NFT projects, just all kinds of stuff. And he was like, I've got this idea, like help me build it out. You know, it's like one of those moments. And he actually, it was a pretty interesting idea. It also was just like kind of gross to me because it was like this classism, like exclusivity, like token. Right. So he was trying to use NFTs as if you have one of these NFTs, you get to come to this club, like an actual club.
Like Bored Ape. That's Bored Ape.
Yes, like Bored Ape. Okay. Yes, exactly. Okay. It was Bored Ape, but it was like they were trying to recreate it specifically for like Austin,
memberships.
You know, and have like an Austin token, and all the cities had their individual tokens, right? And so that I don't think is necessarily like out of the question right now. Like I think you could easily have like NFTs, and like it's like some people use them as art, and some people use them as money.
Right.
Yeah,
it's different. You
know? We have that already. We have several cities in Holland to have their own money.
Yeah, so does Miami, New York. They all have their own, but nobody does anything with it. They had it kind of as a gimmick when the guy that was selling real estate.
Everybody struggles with it, but it's more to do with social enterprises that, local farmers and people are, let's say, in the alternative scene in several cities, Amsterdam, Utrecht. They have their own money, and this stays within that whole ecosystem culture. So yeah, money token. Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily poo-poo it. It's a bad idea. I just think that the end game is sometimes very questionable. If it is to enable me to go to sit on one luxury yacht and watch other people who can't sit on it, then no.
Wealth forms a lot.
If it's something that I can spend, and that money will be instantly, put back into the same, circle that I want to contribute to. Yes, why not?
Yeah, and I think wealth and money always had a lot of different meanings. I think like velocity of money and acceleration. If one person has all the money, then there's no velocity, and then it kind of makes money useless, like the yacht thing. Versus if everybody's sharing and doing transactions, then that kind of creates value. But then also
socialism.
And then the meaning of currency is like currency, like a river flows between banks, like the banks of a river. A lot of banking kind of goes back to old school trade, like kind of figuring out like the definitions of the word. So I think that's kind of, it's an interesting stuff.
Yeah, well, you see the mixture of this. Again, lockdown brought all this back up again. People were bartering again. Bartering. What's that? Oh yeah, I've got a box of stones, and you've got a box of shells, and I need shells, and you need stones, so we change them.
The government is kind of takes advantage of a natural situation. People would trade. It's just somebody puts a pimp between us. And that's the government. So.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with pimps. No, I'm sorry.
Listen, at the end of the day, my computer wanted to listen to that for some reason.
I know. All of a sudden, your computer's like, "Hey, Daddy, tell me more."
Yeah, it's like listening. It's like, what?
Pimp me out. At the end of the day, like I said, I think from crypto algorithms to the meta, they're 5 or 10 years, for the way you guys are looking at it, too early. Blockchain, I think, as technology increases and quantum gets better, it's there. It'll be better. And I think in 10 years or 20 years, like if you guys have kids, they're going to look at you and go like, Mom and Dad, you don't know what you're talking about, because this is what it is, no matter how much you stay up with it. And I think that's where the difference is. I think guys like me that are just old school guys, we understand it. We know what it can and can't do, but we've also lived through all the scams, the buzzes, the Enrons and all this other crap. And now you have FTX and MTG and all these stuff. So we watch the crypto millionaires and billionaires lose everything. And to us, at the end of the day, I'll take faith in the government or governments.
Well, yeah, because the government's going to bail the banks out, the major banks. Yeah, like that's definitely.
And wait, and guess what? Honestly. And that's where we have our money. And until America gets overthrown by the Chinese, and I have to start speaking Mandarin, and Xi is going to be my new best friend, I'm good with the American banks, because there's just too many people that if we implode are going to have a problem. To your point about Russia, where they're going to go back and forth with the currencies and the secret money, the government knows it. They'll just determine when they're going to stop it. So I always laugh when people go, no one knows my crypto algorithm. Nobody knows how much I have. Yes, they do. And there was a big case last year where the FBI used the other agencies in the government with 3 letters, and they tracked every transaction on all these exchanges and blah, 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 blah. And they know. At the end of the day, it makes you feel better. Cool. At some point, I think the governments will figure out how to work with or have an exchange where you feel safe, that you won't have an FTX situation. And at that point, I would go then. I'd be like, okay, I'll play in that arena, because if something happens, I know my money's safe. Playing in the arena now, it's not
making
safe.
You feel safe with all the fluoride in the water.
I'm good with the fluoride, because at the end of the day, if I had money at FTX right now, I'd have no money, and I'd be suing them like everybody else is suing them.
I've had my exchange seized by the FBI one time. I used to use the non-KYC exchanges back in the day, like BTCE. And I thought that it was in Russia, and I thought there was no way its servers could get seized, because America would never make a deal with Russia. And then all of a sudden, one day, the thing says your website's been seized by the FBI, and for some reason, the Russian government let these FBI agents come over and seize all the servers. It was wild. And then they replaced part of they gave us like half our money back and half the money in like shit tokens, and that was supposed to eventually be traded back for something for money. And anyway, it was an interesting experience. So yeah, I mean, exchanges. That's the hard part with exchanges, you know.
Well, even the Vocal twins or whatever, those two kids from Facebook, the FTX owes them like $6 billion. I mean, like it's a mess. And Peter Chill's BuyFi or BlockFi just went bankrupt because of it. So what I'm saying is, if I'm going to do something out there in this type of crazy market, I want my market to be regulated, and I want to be able to buy insurance on it. Because if I do that, I have no risk. I'm good with that. But to say this, you know, to throw money at something, as I told one of my friends when he said, "What do you think I should do by crypto algorithms?" Because he knows I won't call them currency. I said, go to Vegas, have a great weekend with the same amount of money, and list this way. If you lose it, you had fun. Instead of sitting there every day in front of your laptop going, what did Elon Musk get? I don't care. What did this one? I don't care. That's what I want. I want, if it's on an exchange, if the New York Stock Exchange tomorrow said, we now can do crypto algorithms, and here's how we're going to protect you, and here's this, and here's that. So I know the New York Stock Exchange is not going to run away with my money, even though Goldman Sachs owns it. So that doesn't make me feel any better. At least I know that if there's an implosion or whatever, it's like a stock. It goes up, it goes down, but it goes up and goes down into an environment that there's legal control of, whether you like the SEC or not, or whether you like the government or not, or wherever you live, your government, your FCA in the UK with the LSE. It's okay, because at least I know that someone's trying to make sure I don't get screwed, and some kid's not buying a $40 billion condo. The NFT market, if you will, I think is 3 to 5 years away from being something, but I think people have to figure out how to make it something stable, not wild swings. Like Bored Apes a million today and $6 tomorrow. And I think if you get that, that's the moneymaker. And then that will get you to your metaverse, and then that will get where the technology is. So if it follows that path over the next, say, 5 to 10 years, this conversation we'll look at 10 years from now, we'll laugh at it because it'll all be where it needs to be. But if people don't take the A through Z properly, and they're just going to try to go A, skip the other letters and go right to Z, then no, you're going to have FTXs every other day, or MTG or whatever they were out of Japan. And that's where you're going to have the problem. Like Binance would go into countries not being regulated, and they're like, what are you doing? You can't be here. You're like, this is regulated. So I think they have to stop being cowboys and actually work with the governments. And I don't think the governments will give them a problem. I think the governments would appreciate it, but I think they all come in there going, look at us. Yeah, I think the look at us time is done now. I think the population's looking at it differently. So if they work with them, I think you have something. If they don't work with them, I think you're going to have these problems constantly. And at some point, they're just going to go enough's enough and just close it all down. So I think if like Binance's and the Coinbases who actually work with the different governments now are good. FTX went to the Bahamas. That's like working with the four of us, like big deal. You're in the Bahamas. But the Bahamas was looking this FTX as a savior of their country with their coin and all this other stuff. And I think that's a lot different mentality if you're looking at this to be your savior. I think if you look at it, how do we help out everybody who wants to do it globally, and you get a global exchange that's regulated, to your point, yes, I think you can use it, but the governments are going to know about it. So if you're going to try to hide stuff from the government, buy art, buy something go to a Sotheby's auction, buy it, and then pretend you lost it, and just wait 20 years and sell it. And that's the best hidden asset in the world is art, not your ridiculous.
Well, I'm going to jump in here and be the savior of all the people who've been watching this for the last hour. And,
really? What are you going to say, David? Tell us, David.
I was just going to thank everybody for watching, and just you know.
And John and Natassia, let me just say, I actually loved it. And I don't know if you did, but I love this because I like the dialogue. If you guys want to come back and do this any day, my friend, this was wonderful because it's fun to have this kind of dialogue with people.
Yeah, because you're old, Stephen, and you need to listen to young people's points of view.
Sorry.
I was like, what?
And maybe we can show my worthless NFTs to people.
Yeah. No, they're not. We're gonna actually. That's true. She has stuff on OpenSea, and that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother show. But anyway, down below, if she remembers to WhatsApp me the links down below, Miss Wilde's NFTs that you can buy. They're not worthless. They're worth something.
Yeah,
you can buy
that whole conversation. I'm sure people believe you.
No. Wait, but you know what? Is your NFT tied to one of your pictures? Like you're clicking?
I mean, I'll just briefly what I try to do to differentiate it is like I asked you that question was I sell the actual print and then I have the digital version. The digital version actually has animations on top of it, so that it looks, it's interesting. It's something that you could look at on your TV and like be more engaged by it,
right. But so let me ask you this. I don't know. I didn't go to OpenSea yet to see what your stuff costs. So let's say it costs $100. I'm sure it costs more.
It's like $100.
Okay, so it's whatever that is. Can I pick one? Can they pay cash for it on OpenSea? Probably not with a credit card. If they can, that would be cool. Let's just say, because there's nobody that left with crypto algorithms, they're all broke. But if I buy it, would you sell them the actual print as well with it? And then what's the difference in the price?
Yeah, exactly. Like I'll sell the print, so the print with the NFT. I don't think I specify that on the exchange right now, but I can build that out.
David, help your daughter, please. So help Oscar's great granddaughter here. Listen, at the end of the day, I know your prints and stuff. I've seen them at the art show. They're gorgeous. So to me, having it on the television is cool, but I'd also want to hang it on my wall. So I'd want it as both. So I'm not poo-pooing the buy an NFT and buy the original or buy the print. I like that idea. So if you're doing that,
I have a real life print shop, Steven. So I believe in real life art. I have a lot.
There we go. Finally.
And I'll never play in the virtual world. I don't think. I hate those headsets. I think it sucks. Right. So but I spend 8 hours a day on my phone and computer. The phone tells you how much time you spend looking at it. Sometimes it's like 6 hours a day. I don't know if it's because I have it set to not close, but as far as people and assets on it, I think it's just people spend so much time. And I don't even play video games. I just am a photographer, and I do a lot of business online and over my phone. But I think some people's whole lives are
on the phone.
On the phone and computers, yeah.
Well, I will say this: when we were doing Noisy Panda, we learned that in Asia, of course, Japan, really pretty much, because they're ahead of us and in Korea by years on everything. Having an NFT on your phone is street creds. We were talking about that much earlier in the show, right? So if I have Miss Wilde's thing on my phone, they don't care that it's on the wall. It's like, look what I have on my phone. And that I find fascinating, but they're 20, like I said, they're 10 to 20 years ahead of us. So I figure that's what I'm saying. It's going to take us 10 years to get to that point, if you will, globally. And then, but I said all those other little A through Z's have to happen. And I think then we have something. But like I said, I want to be able to look at it.
That's that meme I sent you guys last night. I was that guy.
That was funny. I forgot. It was like, I've got an NFT, I've got a ship. Yes,
it says, there's this guy talking to this chick, and he says, non-fungible tokens are the future of art. I have a multi-million-dollar collection of pixelated moon cats, but can't buy you a drink tonight because I don't want to sell them because they'll be worth billions one day. I'm also famous on Twitter, but you won't recognize me because my persona is a donkey in a spacesuit.
I saw that. I loved it.
Kind of sums it up, honestly.
Yeah, that is.
Well, I'm sure somebody is. Will have to pay for ripping off my social media profile. I've said that
before. Listen,
John, just before we go, you just give us the name of your print shop that you.
Do you want people to come do business with you? How do they find you?
TheYaTeam.com. YAH. TheYaTeam.com.
And Austin Real Estate Photography.com.
Photography.com.
Yeah. We'll put all those links in. I have to go because the nurse will be here soon. And
that's true.
But
guys, seriously, let's come back to it. Let's come back and revisit this at the new year. Seriously, this was a great show.
When we do come back, what we'll do, Tash, is we'll try and get some of your artwork up into the show already before we start, and then we can show that and talk about that and go on. And
why it's going to go up as an NFT. So there you go. We're all buying it. Yeah. We love you. Listen, everybody, Natasha's shows are every Thursday. I think we have one more for the year, and then she's going to take a 2-week holiday because she's a Cockney, apparently. Who knew? And it's all.
Yes, right, mate. Story. She's a Cockney.
Nobody gets that at all.
I know. We'll explain it to people on our end of the year show that David and I are going to do. Anyway, thank you both for you guys were wonderful. Every Thursday, you can watch her with, I don't know what we're having next week with her, but it'll be great. Jonathan, thank you so much for being here today. I love the dialogue back and forth. David, as always, it's a pleasure. We'll see everybody next week. And have a nice day, guys. Cheers.
Bye, Natassia.